Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. I want to talk about something concerning domain and evolution. One of the big concerns that I've had after reading Alien Interview was the domain belief that everything we see has been a construct by forces long before the earth was formed. And this construct, these creations, are of such a nature that there's no such thing as evolution. I've always had a problem with that. To me, it seems obvious that if you're a human and you live in the equator, your skin pigmentation is dark. Whether you're in Africa or in Latin America or in Sri Lanka, you have dark pigmentation. While if you're in the northern or severe southern latitudes, you have light pigmentation. That's an adaptation. And the belief is that we as humans, as we migrated over time to these various areas, that our pigmentation adapted to the environment. That's the theory of evolution. Errol in Alien Interview says that that's not really the case. And I've always had a big problem with that. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But I'm not going to do the regular narrative of pros and cons and he said and she said, and not going to do anything like that. I'm going to go, let's take domain at its word, that there is a reality, a timeless reality where there is no time. And within that timeless reality are intelligences that are able to create universes, create planets and suns that inhabit that universe, and can also create bodies, species. And with each species, of course, is a universe. So you can look from this point of view that you can consider that when you create a body, a physical body, you can also create a universe associated with that. For instance, consider the cat. Cats are in this physical shared universe, this reality universe, but they also, when they leave their body, they go to a cat universe or a cat heaven. We call that same thing with humans. Humans share this reality universe, but when we die, we go to a human universe known as heaven. This point that Errol made in Alien Interview, I have a little bit of problem with, but it's just a little bit of a problem. Because when you look at the bigger picture, is what Errol's saying is wrong? That in the actual situation, there is no such thing as time and space. And during this, within this interim of a lack of time and space, you have entities creating other species, dinosaurs, for instance. And a consciousness will inhabit a body of a dinosaur, live and experience things, and then die, and then go to the dinosaur heaven universe, where then it reviews things and then goes back into another dinosaur body. We can say this for humans, cats, dogs, snails, all kinds of things. But then what is evolution? And in this point in time, I want to posit the idea that the world line templates are not what they appear to be, but rather an unread book. And when you elect to enter into a world line template, you are just taking a page out of that book. And all the pages before that page is a construct. And all the pages after that page is a construct of possibilities. See what I'm getting at? What I'm saying is that, and it's something I've said all along actually in other ways, is the idea that your lifeline that you put on a template can be not only in any species or any person or any physical body at any time, but it can be anything. This is only a template. So our soul, our consciousness, our community establishes a template from which we live our lives upon. And its template is one of probabilities. And the fated life comes into the template where the probabilities of us taking certain actions are constrained by the template itself. That's heavy-duty stuff, people. Meaning that when we elect to go on this particular template and not that particular template, it's so that we're constrained to experience certain things. And the only way to avoid those certain things is to change the template, which of course you can possibly do. I've talked about sliding on and off, but most people don't know how to do that. So think about that for a second. When we look at the world in this way, we're looking upon it as an independent observer, observing things, discarding what our physical body sees and our physical body mentally conjures up, and accepting a reality where consciousness moves into a body form that goes through birth and then concludes at death within a world-line template that is basically shared with many others. But everything that happened prior to the soul entering is just a probability. Studies, the Intention Experiment, it's a book I put on the website for free. Just dig it up somewhere. It's on my website for free. The Intention Experiment talks about the idea that the past can be changed, which is something we're saying right now. In that book, there's all sorts of pasts that you never experienced, but it's only hearsay, conclusions that your mind has fabricated. They ran an experiment where they took random number generators, I think it was pennies, and they tried to influence the past using thoughts. Using statistics, you can tell if there's an influence because random distribution comes out to a bell-shaped curve always. That's with no thought to influences. But if you try to influence it, say a bunch of people thinking that heads are going to turn up, then you will see a change in the bell-shaped curve. That's how we know that thought influences things, because they've ran tests. They had people take pennies and just random distribution, heads or tails, it's always a bell-shaped curve. But when people try to concentrate, the bell-shaped curve changes. So thoughts do impact and affect the outcome. And what this one particular experiment did is they says, okay, there was penny tests being conducted in the 1940s and 1930s and 1950s. Let's take one of those tests where the results have never ever been opened and try to change the results, focusing our thoughts. Try to have a predominance of tails or heads in one study. So that's what they did. And they've tried to focus to change the outcome on this one event that occurred half a century ago. Then they opened up the sealed letter, and sure enough, it had changed. This means it means a lot of things, but fundamentally it means that the past is just as changeable as the future. Which means that the template you are on can be changed by your thoughts. So that means, in even a more fundamental manner, that what we think we're doing through our future and what we think was our past is nothing more than our brain constructing things based upon our thoughts. And therefore, that's what the template is. The template is an environment that we land upon and live out a life based upon the thoughts of other consciousnesses. If the vast majority of consciousness think a certain thing, that will influence our template. And as I've said before, my role is to anchor it so it doesn't go wildly out of control. Now, with that being said, and all that being established, let's go listen to what Errol said, the domain commander, back in 1947, according to Alien Interview. And in that, the domain commander said that there is no such thing as evolution. No such thing as evolution. Evolution is a fake concept, a creation of our mind. Each entity that we experience is a creation that was made. And therefore, people took that in many different ways, but the way I take it is to say that when we land here as consciousness and enter an inhabited body, the past relative to the inhabited body is one of averages based upon consciousness of shared souls on this particular template. And how can that help us? Well, it can help us in many ways and confuse us in many ways. But the most important way that we need to recognize is that your control over your experiences, whether in the past or in the future, is not the torture of reincarnation. That is a lie. That is old empire creating this environment that you think you have to reincarnate over and over and over again to relive things in a time track of past and present and future, when in reality there is no past, present, and future. You're walking on a stage. Your community in soul determines what that stage looks like. It could be a stage from ancient Egypt, a stage from the Flintstones. It could be a stage where you're a dog. It could be any kind of stage. And you walk on it, you live and act out this play, and then you leave. This idea that you're trapped on this stage is old empire teaching. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It's all an illusion. All an illusion. So the healthiest thing that you can possibly do is say, I'm not coming back to this stage, this reincarnation, because it doesn't exist. It's a template. I don't like that template. So you can work and create your own template. But whatever you do, don't go back and do shared templates. So when you die, and I've looked over a couple NDEs, and when you die, and whether you're able to lucid dreaming or whatever, do not get so caught up in the belief that what you experience here in the physical world is or the non-physical, if you do lucid dreaming, is what it really is, because it isn't. It's not what it actually is. Consciousness and soul and reincarnation and going back and forth are all illusionary. Okay? And when people die and they get these NDEs, and you listen and read about them, keep in mind, please, that an NDE, as reported, will vary from person to person. There are some that seem to indicate that they were a member of domain that entered in as a life and then exited. I put one up on MM. Other ones are just people who are involved in car accidents and things happen. Some of them are pretty good. But some of the NDEs I've seen where people just seem to want to have something to say but have no real experience, and they're just shouting bullshit, while other people are so caught up in dogma that they're repeating what they experienced based upon the dogma that they understand. That's all template talking. You have to be very selective on how you take in all this information. Okay? And with all that being said, let me close. I wanted to send this out. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. This is a peak global change period. And, but I don't want to neglect Patron, and I certainly don't want to neglect you guys. This is really important and it's fundamental. I hope this helps you. And I hope it gives you hope and understanding. Reincarnation to a template is not a reality. It's not your reality. A template is a creation. It's a stage for you to walk upon. You can fly above this stage. You can fly above this movie theater. You can fly above everything and see things as it actually is. And with that, people, take care, because I believe